Most of our scholars have in fact come from inside countries that are currently in conflict. Some of them have left, some of them have gone back, and it helps us understand the complexity of the very terminology around refugee that is much more complex than we tend to appreciate. Afghanistan is a perfect example, really, of the fact that obviously there are women in Afghanistan who would deserve scholarships and benefit enormously from scholarships, just as there are Afghan women outside of Afghanistan today. The flexibility has extended to a smaller scholarship program, the flexibility that comes from being within a university with student leadership, to provide scholarships for resettled refugees and asylum seekers who are already in the country seeking protection. So we're able to use our mechanisms to provide a variety of scholarships. The finances of the scholarship are based on contributions that every student in the university makes to this scholarship. It's modeled on the WUSC program that Michelle can tell you more about. And it's supplemented by a contribution from the university and then partnerships with NGOs. Last year, we formed a partnership with Women Leaders of Tomorrow, which is an organization based in Vancouver that is working to provide educational opportunities for Afghan women. And we are now in the process of sponsoring the first 2 women to come from Afghanistan, or from outside of Afghanistan, to Wilfrid Laurier University. We also engage in advocacy with the federal government, seeking to draw attention to the work we're doing, the needs of young women in situations such as this, and one day, maybe, hoping to find funding from the government to support the funding that's already provided by the students. As you can imagine, the costs of these scholarships are enormous. You are all aware of the high international student fees, and we can talk more about why universities won't waive those fees. But we have to raise a lot of money. For us, a scholarship budget is about $56,000 a year for one student. And the students in the university pay for 3/4 of that. And the NGO partners will pay for the other quarter. But one of the realities we've run into in the last year is that in the post-COVID world, fundraising for charities is becoming extremely difficult. I suspect this organization has discovered that as well. And we are now trying to switch gears because our partners are telling us that they aren't sure that they can continue to find the money to support the scholarships. And so we're looking for foundations for wealthy individuals and they're out there. It's a matter of finding the individual who is willing to invest in the high cost of higher education in one person or 2 people, not in 10,000 children, not in 4,000 high school children, but in 1 or 2 people. And that's a real challenge. But that's what we are looking for today, is for partners who can put in that quarter, that $14,000 to supplement what else we have raised. And so because of that, as Emily said, to bring this to a conclusion, we have evolved in response to global conflicts and now are putting our focus primarily on Afghanistan and the Rohingya in the years to come. And we do have our first Afghan young woman arriving in 13 days on the 27th. So we just bought her ticket 2 days ago, and she's coming to do a master's degree in international public policy. So I'll stop.
Thank you. Good morning. And thank you for your kind invitation to be part of this symposium panel, such a crucial topic. I also thank you and commend you for your continuing and tireless work for the women in Afghanistan. Afghan women speak powerfully for themselves, and University Women Helping Afghan Women are proud to support them how we can. We stand with them to amplify their voices. University Women Helping Afghan Women, UHA, is an interest group of some 50 members of the Canadian Federation of University Women, Ottawa, a club of over 530 members. Ottawa is one of some 90 clubs across Canada and linked globally to Graduate Women International, headquartered in Geneva and with members from some 70 countries around the world. In 2008, a group of Ottawa members met to plan our 2010 CFUW National AGM. The besieged country of Afghanistan had been in our front pages since 2003. We were greatly influenced by Canadian author Sally Armstrong. One of the women featured in her book, Veiled Threat, was the extraordinary physician and human rights activist, Dr. Seema Samar. So inspired by what we had read, we wanted to raise awareness of the situation of these women, and so when Sally, because of a previous commitment, could not be our AGM keynote speaker, we invited Dr. Samar. Dr. Samar came and opened our minds forever. A month later, UHA was formed. Since then, Dr. Samar has been our mentor and guide, and with her we have shared and continue to share the joys and tragically now the many sorrows of the women of her country. Our goals. Since its founding in 2010, our goals have been to learn about the issues facing women and girls in Afghanistan, to raise awareness of such locally, nationally, and internationally, and to advocate, and to support them how we can, with special emphasis on their tertiary education. Over the years, we raised funds for scholarships for exceptional and needy young women at Dr. Samar's Dalhousie University in Kabul. Classes were co-ed, and Dalhousie believed that education would empower women economically and eventually enable them to take control of their lives and to defend their human rights. With the absolute Taliban decree and brutal force, these doors were tragically closed to women in December 2022. These women are now, like so many others, shuttered in their homes. Since 2011, our scholarship funds have helped over 108 women. In addition, others, for various reasons, had to withdraw along the way. We know from Dr. Samar, all was not lost. Whatever education these young women managed will have changed them and those around them. After August 2021, the funds continued to be received by UHA. Because of Canada's anti-terrorism legislation, we could not send these funds to Afghanistan, and they were used instead to start a new bursary for a qualified female Afghan refugee. Provided with a laptop, internet access, and power supply, the girls are now able to take ESL courses with Classroom Without Walls, another Canadian Women for Women of Afghanistan partner, and will have access to additional learning, both with them and through Canadian Women's DDL library. Each student will have a TA to monitor and help her along the way, as well as the support of our former Dalhousie Scholarship Manager. To conclude, while online learning is not a permanent solution, it is the only viable option for these women at the moment. Indeed, we hope the RCA program will be the beginning of our UHA girls' continuing education and open the door to other opportunities. We hope, too, our current group is the first of many. We are fortunate to be working with Canadian Women for Women of Afghanistan and are most grateful to them for their time and expertise as we begin this new, creative, and safe venture for our students. And our donors know their funds are secure, legal, in Canadian dollars, and with very low administrative costs. Most importantly, we're confident our dollars are giving hope and options for a brighter future to talented and deserving young women half a world away. Together, we can work with others to forge alternatives, and we must. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here alongside all of you as well. So my role at WUSC is to provide technical advice to different types of initiatives that WUSC implements to increase durable solutions for refugees. I'm going to focus today especially on a program that we've been implementing, and it is our flagship program, really. We've been implementing since the 1940s. And that's the Student Refugee Program. So in addition to this Student Refugee Program, WUSC is an international development organization, and we had long-standing programming working in girls' education in Afghanistan for many years, until about 2018, I think, or so. But this Student Refugee Program started in the 1940s by students who wanted to provide an opportunity to university students who had been displaced by conflict with a chance to continue their studies in safety in Canada. So back in the 1940s, the University of Toronto and a bunch of other universities got together, and it was really the students on those campuses to raise funds and to facilitate the immigration of students to Canada to continue their studies. Since then, this program has evolved. It now operates under Canada's private sponsorship of refugees program. So we are an official organization that has an agreement with both Immigration Quebec and Immigration Canada to bring about 150 students to Canada each year under this agreement, and we work really closely with student groups across the country, including at McGill, including at UQAM, University of Laurier, all of the universities in Montreal, and those represented on the panel. And similar to the ISOW initiative, it's really the students that are at the forefront of this work, who both fund and secure the funds for the sponsorships of students every year, and also provide the social support and the soft landing for students when they arrive to help them integrate onto their new campuses and into their new communities. We also work alongside ISOW to raise awareness about refugee issues and the conflicts that force them to flee their countries and destigmatize what it means to be a refugee. Gavin started to introduce the student levy model, which is where every student on campus, unless they decide to opt out, pays into this program. And so really it's a collaborative program that's co-funded by the institutions who provide tuition waivers, often the students who provide levies, and then other fundraising that takes place on campus and in the community. Sometimes it's a faculty levy or a staff payroll deduction that also helps to fund the program. And so since 1978, which is when we started operating this initiative under this new immigration infrastructure, we sponsored 2,600 students to come to Canada. And in the early 2000s, a number of those students were Afghans. Fast forward to 2021, we all know what happened. And so WUSC tried to quickly mobilize its campus network to offer additional placements on their campuses for the following year to Afghan students, particularly Afghan women. So we were happy to welcome 21 new students to Canada from Afghanistan out of Pakistan, who had to travel on a chartered flight by the Government of Canada at the time, and welcome them across our campus network in Canada, of which there are 110. And we expected to welcome another group of 11 students this fall. And sadly, they are stuck in Pakistan because they cannot get exit visas. They were placed at a Canadian institution. They were approved by the Canadian government, and we're continuing to work with the authorities there, with the Canadian government, the UN, the NGOs, everyone that will help us to try to get them out of Pakistan. So unfortunately, these barriers that are created by the countries of asylum prevent us often from being able to do our work and good work. And so, as also the chair of the Task Force on Global Education Pathways, one of the things that we work on is advocacy to host countries to create the opportunities for people to leave their countries of asylum and to remove the barriers that are preventing them. So we've been convening alongside the UN, conversations with the government of Pakistan, alongside the government of Canada and other governments who are trying to help the populations who have had to flee Afghanistan, who are in Pakistan and elsewhere, to facilitate their exit.
Thank you. To be honest, I have been thinking about the question for days, and I have changed my answer each time. And I realized that I don't need to repeat everything what has been said about the situation there. I teach mostly statistics every Friday, 6 p.m. Calgary time. Can you imagine a boring subject? Honestly, it's boring and complicated. During the week, you deal with Taliban, and on Friday you learn statistics. And they are there every week, and that's, I think, what I need to highlight, and I would like to take the opportunity to shed a different light based on, I say, my view. I used to work in biological evolution, and consider the clothes you're all wearing, okay? Everything you wear, even the traditional ones, they are all products of high engineering. All of them, from the textile, synthetic, from the dye, from the machines to produce them, commercial development. It has taken decades, generations, honestly, centuries to build what you have. And even if we talk about traditional clothes, people who soon know, it takes hundreds of hours. The key for that is the transmission from one generation to another. The fish can swim, the lions, they have claws, all kinds of species have different abilities, but honestly, look at me. In the jungle, 2 hours. The only way for me to survive in the jungle is to transmit my knowledge to the other generation. Okay? And this is the key of the success of the human species on Earth. Okay? It's the fish, they don't swim because they think it's a right to swim. It's a fundamental characteristic of the fish. And when we say education is a right, you know, it's beyond that. It's not even a need. It's a fundamental characteristics. It's what distinguishes us, among others, from animals. And that's why I think even despite Taliban's infanticide, the girls, they are here every Friday. Despite all the problems, 6 p.m., they log in. I think that's the best measure I can give.
I'm Carolyn Waters. Thanks so much for letting me be part of the workshop put on by the Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan this afternoon. I'm very sorry that I'm not able to be in Montreal today to participate in person. But like all of you, I am distressed by the recent actions to cancel education for women and girls in Afghanistan. And I ask myself, what can I possibly do that might result in helping any of these women? Clearly, the highest priority remains on basic education for girls in Afghanistan. But not surprisingly, my focus is also on those women who are now denied post-secondary education. So I'd like to look at the needs of these women, the capacity that's already in our universities and colleges to help, and what we can do to make this work. So let me first address the needs of women at the post-secondary level. Who are these women? Women who were partway through university programs and have now been denied access. Second, women who have completed secondary education and are ready for post-secondary education, but are denied. And thirdly, women who have completed entire undergraduate programs and are now seeking further education, but are denied. So let me start out my slides and we'll get going. Okay, so let's roll. So there are some challenges that we're all looking at for today. We need to, first of all, I think, start to move from the sort of shock and good intentions. Of course, we can help, we've got lots we can do, to focusing on practical outcomes. From my perspective, we need to start to nudge the effort across Canada to open doors at our post-secondary system and reduce the barriers to success at getting finished. And most of all, I think the challenges are we need ideas. We need to actually think about how we can all make a difference and what can we do. Okay, so there is good news. Canadian universities and colleges have both good intent and capacity. So there are well-established online content and delivery and infrastructure across the country, partly thanks to the pandemic. Universities and colleges have a long history of experience working with international students in many ways, including advising. There are many scholarships and bursaries not labeled for Afghan women, but would be applicable if you knew what they were called. Canada has the privilege, I think, and the advantage of having a national interinstitutional framework for course transfers and programs between institutions. And Canada also has national organizations where we can go to raise awareness of this current need. The University of Canada, colleges, etc. The not so good news is that if you were in Afghanistan and you thought you needed help, there are 97 universities and 175 colleges in Canada. language is a barrier, access to online learning, recognition of their credentials, and counseling and advising relevant to these institutions are all needed. The Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan have been just outstanding in this regard. And I was fortunate to work with them early in the winter to think about, articulating how universities could be helpful. Clearly accepting transfer students and for women who are partway through transferring credits, allowing women to enroll in our virtual courses and programs that are already there, and very importantly, providing them with virtual access to our ESL courses, English for academic programs, purposes, exam preparation, etc. But also, when necessary, think about waiving application fees. It's pretty hard to come up with 500 Canadian dollars if you're not in Canada. Financial need for women who have financial needs, whether they're in Canada or Afghanistan, and there are special programs. And I think that contributing to the platform that CW4WA already has for open online courses in Afghan languages is helpful. Adding courses and giving permission to faculty members to teach a course also are viable options. So the institution, I think, has an opportunity to raise the visibility on their websites instead of having it hidden in some kind of code. Linking their programs directly to the portal that CW4WA has created. I think that this open access to online offerings, including university prep courses, will become more and more important. And actively collaborating in national frameworks that will make access for these women more consistent, more viable, and more visible. So, what can you and I do? I think, first of all, continuing your ambassadorship locally when opportunities arise, regionally and nationally when you have an opportunity. I would ask everyone here to consider contacting your own alma mater, college, university, plural. Find a champion there, raise their awareness that this activity is going on in Canada and that they can actually, with very little cost, be very helpful, and introduce to them the toolkit as a starting platform for action. And I think really today is an opportunity to continue this discussion, propose some new ideas, and kickstart more engagement with universities and colleges. So, in summary, continue to speak up. Do what you can do. And I'm looking forward to having notes at the end of your session. Hopefully someone will send them to me. I again apologize for not being there. But I've added my email here, carolyn.waters@dal.ca, and I welcome any comments that you might have or questions you might have at any time. So that would be terrific. So thanks again. It's been terrific.
Thanks, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here and to continue to be inspired by the work that everyone does. As Emily mentioned, I'm wearing two hats, Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan in Ottawa, and University Women Helping Afghan Women. And I just want to take a few minutes to talk about how University Women Helping Afghan Women functions within the greater organization of Canadian Federation of University Women and our international body, Graduate Women International, in our long-standing relationship in the UN, and with Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan. And Hally has provided an excellent background on our founding and our goals and our missions. I'm going to talk about advocacy. Canadian Federation of University Women and members of our Ottawa Club have been striving for a better world for more than 100 years. We believe in the importance of advancing gender equality worldwide, education, and health for women and girls. We seek to empower women as leaders and decision makers. We have 90 clubs and 7,000 members across the country, and everything we do is driven by the extraordinary effort of volunteers. And I think it's fair to say we have breadth, we have reach. Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan have great depth in education in Afghanistan with 25 years experience, training teachers, establishing schools, providing supplies and education to thousands of students. And you also have exceptional resources to help carry out your work. The combination of your depth and our reach and our shared concerns for Afghan women and girls suggests a good fit, a good partnership. And I think we've shown them we really can work together. Canadian Federation of University Women operates at a number of levels. We have clubs in our community. We operate within a small geographical region, in a province or territory, and nationally. And that means we can advocate for change at any or all of those levels, wherever it can be most effective. WUSC is itself a very small group within our Ottawa Club, but we work hard on our advocacy, amplifying the voices of the women of Afghanistan, highlighting their incredible loss of human rights. We have a monthly speakers series that lets us learn from some of the most knowledgeable people, and we provide a platform for Afghan women, whether in Canada, Afghanistan, or elsewhere. You asked about how do we engage. We use our traditional advocacy techniques. We collaborate with other groups in Ottawa, especially the Ottawa chapter of Canadian Women. We host events, we organize rallies. A while ago we held a 6-week-long walk to Kabul, which brought in 600 members, friends, family, all across the country, walking to raise awareness of what was going on in Afghanistan. We write to our elected officials, senators, committee members, as we did for Bill C-41, the anti-terrorism legislation, or to increase the number of refugees Canada will accept, for example. We use the media with letters to the editor, op-eds. We invite reporters to our events. Recently, we've engaged community newspapers rather than fight for space in major newspapers, and it's proved to be very effective. Our Facebook page, where we share Afghan news, has more than 3,000 followers, many of them in Afghanistan. We use our local CFUW local, provincial, and national newsletters to share information. We make presentations to clubs, local groups, international organizations, the UN. It's rather like how PowerPoint will travel. I don't think we've ever turned anybody down. Throughout 2023-24, we want to harness the power of our reach while employing your depth, the rich resources of Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan. And this is where we can unite for her right to learn. Carolyn Waters, whom we heard earlier, was our speaker last May. We learned the details of the toolkit, how Canadian higher education institutions can help. And using this toolkit, we hope to inspire our clubs and members across the country, just as we were inspired. We have some distinct characteristics I believe can help accomplish this. The vast majority of our members are graduates of Canadian universities. They have alma maters, something Carolyn encouraged. Many of our members taught at universities and colleges, or were senior administrators. Our clubs historically provide scholarships and bursaries to their local universities and colleges. That's another important relationship we have. We have a club, or many clubs, where these colleges and universities are located. And most importantly, equal rights to quality education is a basic tenet of our organization. There will be challenges. Not all our members want to do advocacy work. It's not easy. And those who do usually are already committed, whether it's the 15-year-long fight for early childhood education and universal daycare, or whether it's long-term care for the elderly, or climate change, or bail reform to protect women from intimate partner violence, and a host of other issues. These are devoted, busy women, but they all know about the circumstances of the women and girls in Afghanistan, the only people on earth forbidden in education, and I am confident these same committed women will step up and they will help.